Yes, it is. I just found it. I needed to click start recording.
Yeah.
So, all good. So, Jasmin, welcome to Everyman Radio.
Hello.
And yeah, how have you been?
I've been, well, to be very honest, it's definitely been an interesting year. So I have been
It's one
trying to
word.
be consistent as I can with all my work. And yeah, but otherwise, on a more positive note, I've been doing great. I can definitely imagine that it's a lot more, difficult for some, individuals.
Oh yeah, I do know what you mean. It can be easy for us privileged people. I suppose, I don't know if that's the right term, but those of us, I suppose, who are kind of working hard to kind of stay on top of things, we kind of. I know there's lots who are neglected and struggling. I think particularly financially, actually, and I think we'll see more of that. And
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think definitely there's going to be people doing it more harder than others. And I have to say that I'm definitely thankful. And yeah, no, I'm definitely thankful because as much as was really disappointed at first when all of this happened, I kind of thought to myself, well, right now, if you were already, struggling as it was, imagine being hit by all of this. And they were already talking about in the news how the employment levels will be, even mental health is something that a lot of people are struggling with. And obviously people were struggling with these sort of issues before. So it's definitely going to be a very strenuous year for most people.
yeah, no, you're definitely right. And I always thought you were going to say the word interesting year as you kind of began. It's interesting. It is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's another word for it. Really, I think terrifying. No, terrifying, I don't know.
Definitely, but I took it upon myself to do this course in a way, or test. Pretty much the Australian Department of Health offered a test on the official website where you could learn about coronavirus and how to stop the spread. And when I say that, I mean kind of medically, but more in basic terms such as social distancing, what the virus actually is, and so on. So they really recommended health workers to do that, or anyone that worked in the health section, in hospitals and what have you. But any individual could actually create an account, log in, and sign up and do the test for free. So I did that. I passed with flying colors, and it gave me a certificate of acknowledgement for infection control for COVID. And I think when you look at that information and when you look at what's happening, it makes sense. But when you look at and I'm sorry, this is just more opinionated, but when you look at some of these news stories, it seems that, whilst this doesn't apply to everyone, but it seems that the media sometimes can take advantage of the situation and then create hype rather than education, if that makes sense.
Very, very much so. It's I personally, the broadcasters, podcasters, alternative media space truth tellers, I guess, that are following it, do liken, essentially say the coronavirus is actually a complete hoax. It doesn't actually exist. the virus that does exist is a fear virus propagated by the media to spread fear. I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know. It gets a bit conspiratorial, perhaps, but it's interesting times.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could give out information like just for example, the Australian Department of Health would, or you could watch the television and you would still find that the information delivered on the Australian Department of Health's website is more educational, more informing, and therefore it comes to you in a more informative way than perhaps again watching the television. And that's where the difference is, maybe not so much always in what is happening, but how they deliver it to you. And so yeah, it is a terrifying part of the year. And I'm actually very proud to say, as things begin opening up in Australia, I've actually started I found myself avoiding the television. I just found it, in a sense, distracting of what was actually going on. Funny enough, and again, this is just me personally, but I found that really helped. In order to move forward, it wasn't so much that we had to keep hearing every day every bit of things that happened, but rather we had to acknowledge what was happening, know what we had to do as people, and then move forward. You know what I mean? So again, everyone has different views on what should be happening, but yeah, I think people just need to be informed. They don't necessarily need to be terrified, but just rather informed of what the situation is.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that makes perfect sense, but it definitely goes to show that, yeah, people can easily be terrified by how all of these bits of news are delivered. Again, this is just thoughts that I had over time as I was, as we were in lockdown. um, but I think, yeah, on a more positive note, I've been using the time to really plan out a lot of future projects and kind of work on a lot of things for my career.
Okay, great. Um, and I suppose, yeah, I've seen you've been very active on Facebook. So frequently, I'm quite surprised actually how often you are posting in there, and Instagram, although I don't go to Instagram, but I think they feed off each other. But
Mm.
yeah, so no, it's great to see. And yeah, I can see you're very active in, I think, different sort of health sponsors or something. I saw a recent post of yours, actually it was today. I was quite surprised because of the normal sort of images of yourself and that I see, and I was quite surprised. I saw a plate of food. Uh, it was I think you had the title "Healthy Food," and I had to look at it quite a few times to actually work out actually what type of food it was.
Yeah, I've been trying to actually, admittedly, my health has been probably, well, I wouldn't say my health, but kind of my diet, or my normal way of having a healthy lifestyle has again naturally been interrupted by all of this. I only started working out, going to the gym maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's in it's good because some people, or some countries, sorry, are still dealing with this at a much heavier level.
Yeah.
So again, I'm very thankful that we are moving slowly but surely in a positive direction. But yeah, a lot of things were just, yeah, I have to tell you, a lot of things were just really disturbed in a way. And I mean, all for good cause, because we had to stop the spread. But again, like I really found it was a very, very yeah, a very quiet, lonely sort of time because you couldn't really go anywhere, and things were just, at the point when there was a full lockdown, things were just very restrictive, of course. And yeah, I think naturally it wasn't until in the last 3 weeks I really started focusing back on my healthy lifestyle choices. And yeah, it's been very interesting coming out of this. I again, like I just told myself today, I am starting to slowly notice more signs of productivity, not only within
Okay.
myself, but with people around me in the industry. So for me, that's very positive because I'm a very extroverted person, and I just love getting out there and doing what I do. So for me, it was very odd being at home and not doing, well, just not working. So
Mm. Oh yeah. So, what projects are you can? Sorry, God, I can't even speak properly. Uh, what projects are you working on now then that you think you can get back into? That you want to get back into?
well, there's a lot of photo shoots, different concepts as well, like different types of creative projects and photo shoots that my team and myself are thinking of and planning for. Um, the other thing that we are working on, in fact, it's already been started, is my reality web series.
Okay.
So episode 1 is already out, with episode 2 coming next month. So yeah, things have really started, moving. So, and the really cool part is, again, despite what has happened, we have connected with some people we've worked before, and even some people we haven't worked with yet. And people are starting to really, get out there, or some people are planning to start working in the creative industry again. So I'm very optimistic about that. So I think not necessarily now, but maybe in 6 months' time, there's going to be a big comeback for the creative industry.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, on a separate note, and this may not apply for every single person, but apparently, according to what the news says online, a lot of people who were employed in the creative industry somehow were left out amongst this other margin of people when it came to receiving any sort of financial support. So that was, very shocking to hear. Because that's the last thing you want to, you want to have. Say, for example, if you did photography and
Mm.
you weren't able to get any sort of, you know, support. So, yeah, but again, on a positive note, I really think in a few months' time, it's going to be a huge comeback for everybody in that industry. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know. I think, from my own point of view, UK government, yeah, we get kind of frequent sort of messages that there is funds available for businesses if you do certain criteria or fulfill certain things. But to be honest, I've tried. I've loosely tried, but I've just found it very difficult to get hold of anything. So I imagine it's very hard for, yeah, everyone,
Mm.
and especially those on the fringes, and yeah, the creatives. But yeah, yeah, we have to see, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I think, it's definitely been a sad time for a lot of people. And again, like I won't lie, I was very down in a sense for a while. The fact that you just, you're kind of there at home, or you're kind of, doing whatever from for a certain period of time, and you kind of felt that you couldn't get out there and just do what you liked, in a
Mm,
sense, whatever that may be. And when I say that, like, I'm very passionate about modeling and everything that I do. So the fact that I think what disappointed me was when there wasn't a lot of information out at first. And again, it happens, when this began to happen, I don't think anyone really knew what was going on. So again, there's a bit of understanding there. And yeah, I had to postpone a lot of projects naturally, like
Yeah.
people did. And it was like you didn't know at that point what was going on. But when things did start commencing in terms of planning ahead for the future, and the government, putting in steps to help people and what have you, then things started looking like there was, some sort of strategy that we could move on with. And for me, that was the turning point where I said, okay, well, maybe I can slowly start replanning the projects that we had to postpone, and start looking at other things that I could do, really, because I found that, surprisingly, a lot of people were going online to my online subscriptions. So I was getting a bit of an income from there, and that was very helpful. So the funny part was, despite, all of these things happening, it gave me more free time to do more of these creative concepts that I really wanted to work on. And of course, at the same time, earn money online. So there was a bit of like hidden bonuses or hidden, accomplishments that came out of that.
Yeah, that's great. I had to. I remember the first interview we had, and I'm sure I was asking you, how should I launch my modeling career, something like that. And oh yeah, you said get a manager, but or let's say I didn't. Well, I wasn't even. I didn't really try with that, but I've had to put that on hold. Let's say, put it on furlough. But yeah, it is interesting. I think lots of different creatives, say in the comedy, or they're just trying in different ways, using different online tools to present what they are used to do, and then carry on doing it, but in a different way. I was looking forward to the comedy clubs reopening. But I haven't seen anything about that yet. But it is. Everything has sort of really got slowed down and is slowly coming back to life. It's a strange time.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And that's the other way of describing it. It definitely has been a strange time. And again, like I think there were like just looking at my social media, I remember seeing some people that I'm following, that a lot of people actually like were enjoying this time out, like enjoying the fact that they just had to sit at home and not have any concerns. And again, like that's one way of looking at it. And again, maybe for those who were feeling very stressed or overwhelmed or too much work, found that this was a good time to get rest. But yeah, no, on a more positive note, I can definitely see good things coming out eventually in terms of the creative industry. And I really feel that this is just the beginning. Even with my reality web series, it's just a beginning, and we felt the second time filming it, as in for the second episode, that is, that there was so much different things and so much more content that we had filmed. Even just the bits between photo shoots and what have you, and the traveling journey was some cool stuff to implement in the episode. So I really feel that episode 3 or even beyond is going to be amazing. And the cool part is with my show, and I found that it actually was an advantage in these circumstances, although this wasn't done purposely, this was the plan all along, that it was meant to be a bi-monthly or tri-monthly thing, where there'd be an episode every 2 to 3 months. give or take. And because a lot has been opening up and, progressing every few weeks, it actually worked in the favor of the show's schedule. So, yeah, the second episode, we managed to do a lot. So I'm very excited to think what will happen for the photo episode fourth. So
That's all right. Yeah, pause is fine. So I'll have a sip of tea from my beautiful Everyman Radio mug. And yeah, I think what did I do? I think I misunderstood you then, actually, because I think you said you paused, or you were going to pause, or something like that. Doesn't matter. But I do have a question that's just actually come to me from a listener, reader. This is from Liz, and she asks, "Why is love scary?" I don't know. It's pretty random, I think, but I don't know. I could probably come up with better ones, but that's just, I don't know. What do you think? Is it worth answering? Or is there an answer?
Are they directly asking me, or are they just asking in general?
Well, I suppose it might be a question that lots of people have to a certain extent. Why is love scary? I don't know. You can answer it in any which way you like.
Okay.
I know for yourself, you have had many years ago. I remember our last conversation. You were talking about the domestic abuse issues and other things around love, where love goes a bit wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose my answer would be, if I was asked that, yeah, there are lots of people that don't behave themselves, or can't handle it, or let their emotions run out of control and take advantage. I don't know. I'm just prattling on.
I agree with you on that one, and I agree that there are people who are problematic or have issues and so on. And anyway, moving forward from the domestic violence, I'm very honored to say that whilst that was a horrible experience for me, and it would be for anyone, women, men, or children, I found that I really have moved quite far from that experience, and I'm very proud of that. I realized, and this is probably more important than people think, whilst people can be violent, or whilst people can be, problematic, not everyone's the same. And everyone does have some sort of issue. Of course, if you had a violence issue, that's when, things aren't healthy. So I guess identifying what's healthy and what's not healthy is one thing. But moving forward, I really felt that I had progressed from that experience. So I'm very happy to say that, because I think being a domestic violence survivor, you are stuck with that experience and everything connected to that, such as relationships, in your heart and in your mind, which is actually more powerful than what it sounds. I definitely have progressed from that, and I realized not every person or not every man would be like that or is like that. And I had to really come to terms with that fact, because yeah, some people have this negative experience and they never move on from it. And it's so real. And you understand because it's basically it's trauma. When people have trauma, they do not move on from perhaps one, two, often even just one terrible experience, and they just can't move past it. So yeah, I've moved past mine. I haven't forgotten about it, of course, but I've moved
Yeah.
past it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think it's, well, of course, it's so easy to generalize, but it's same for a lot of us. I just know for myself. Um, um, so big events that happened to us. So for my example, mental health. So issues with mental health. So 2 years ago, I think as much as we move on, and we do make a lot of progress away from any traumatic events that have happened to us. Yeah, I do find it can be very easy to become reminded of it, especially our friends, family, those people that mean well, but keep kind of bringing us back to where we were in a way, for kind of forgetting that we have kind of really moved on and worked hard to get away from it. I don't know. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm sort of saying?
I completely understand. And yes, sometimes it's your friends or loved ones that will just say, oh, but you shouldn't do this because remember this experience you had, or whatever. It may not be exactly worded that way. But I guess a lot of the time we don't want to be reminded of negative experiences. And I always remember the saying, start your day with a positive note. And there's a funny story behind that because I remember working with a makeup artist, and yeah, so she has children, so she has to wake up early, not only for work, but to make sure everyone's ready for school and what have you. But she would always wake up very early, and as early as 6:30, 7 a.m. So pretty early in the sense that, yeah, it's like way prior to when the day starts for most people. But anyway, she would always turn on the morning news, and we had a bit of a laugh about it because she said there was nothing really nice to listen to while she would get ready, because they would talk about perhaps someone who had been in an accident, some other traumatic experiences like, rape or what have you. And she said she stopped doing that after a while because she could not progress to work listening to that in the morning. She said you should really start your day on a positive note. And it made so much sense. So in a way, even though we have negative experiences and we should learn from them, we shouldn't exactly pick up our life from there, in the sense that, okay, this is a negative experience, let's start our life now from that negative experience. In fact, I reckon whilst we should learn from experiences, we should also learn to move forward, and move forward from positiveness rather than negativity, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. And I've got another question, actually, just coming exactly
Yeah.
now, from um, from my Canadian friend who is actually in Hong Kong at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, do have difficulties understanding her sometimes. I'm not quite sure. I think she's very well travelled. Um, so the first one was what makes you TikTok, but I don't really understand what that means. I think just what gives you get up and go, what really gets you fired up, or
Unless she's referring to the TikTok app that recently came out, um, I wouldn't really understand that question all too well. So,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So some people, a lot of people are actually huge fans of TikTok and they use it. I already started noticing a lot of my friends started like using that app. And yeah, I haven't really gone into it. I feel that with all the social media stuff that I'm actually doing, and I'm actually planning to do a lot more, I find that it's too, yeah, I don't have the capacity or the time to head over to TikTok and start growing that. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question correctly, but
Oh
my
no.
other TikTok friends may understand that.
Well, no, actually, she's just clarified. And no, she wasn't talking about TikTok, the the Apple what you were talking about. And I actually think she was being a bit naughty because she was saying what gets her going, libido wise. Uh,
Oh,
so I think she's kind of yeah. Well, anyway, I don't need to answer that really.
okay.
It can make it general. What excites you? I don't know.
What excites me? I mean, honestly, if we're just talking about general happiness and, confidence, my career excites me.
Okay.
Looking at other people and what they're doing in the industry excites me. And it inspires me to keep doing more and keep doing better than I did before. And that's where I can refer back to the time when everything was locked down. I really just felt odd because I was
Mm.
just so not used to looking forward to a new project or looking forward to anything to do with my career because I was always doing that. So yeah, for me, it's been the total opposite of some people where they were very happy to be at home. For me, it was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Um, so yeah, no, I'm very happy now. I'm more excited now because now myself and a lot of people can slowly get moving and working on so many things. And yeah, I'm very positive actually, again, for what does come ahead. And whilst we don't know what may happen, I'm still very optimistic that even for 2021, things will look a lot different for people in the creative industry. And I think for some businesses, again, I'm referring to the creative industry, but maybe this could apply to everybody. For some businesses and for individuals who have started planning now, like myself, it's good because you can kind of, yeah, plan ahead and look at all the actions that you want to take. And therefore, yeah, you just have that extra time to plan something really good. Um, so yeah, I've found that there were so many projects that I could do,
Mm.
again, because of all this extra planning.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's two camps. Yeah, it's me generalizing, obviously, but um, there are those who can kind of switch off, recognize they now have some space in their life to actually do the things they had on the back burner they kind of neglected and actually bury themselves into actually being productive in this time. And then others that just wander around scratching their heads. I don't know. All I seem to do is wander around and then just get very frustrated and irritated by anyone wearing a mask because that's just one of the things that really winds me up. I don't know why. I should just chill out. But I suppose because all the literature I've read suggests actually these masks putting something on a cloth on your face does absolutely nothing because the actual size of a corona particle is so infinitesimally small that you actually need a real industrial kind of spacesuit almost, the things that they would wear in high security labs,
Yeah.
to make it actually effective to actually block whatever this virus might be. Um, but I have calmed down. But I have had said very silly things really to people, utterly pointless things, because I see so many people who are kind of really set in their ways and they cannot
Yeah.
they cannot break out of it, really. They kind of believe what they've been told, and then kind of authoritarian follower type that follows the rules and just does what they're told and carries on. But yeah, I don't know what to do with people like that. Kind of those that aren't very free thinking, let's say.
Well, I mean, and that's probably the most accurate way you can put it. And I think, well, we are in a sense all in this together, but I think people have kind of mixed knowledge with fear. And the really
Mm,
interesting part was there's this entrepreneur, and again, I don't know what their medical or psychological education is, but they said, I actually know a little bit about psychology, so this is where
okay.
I felt I agree with this. It said that fear or stress, like especially stress, um, decreases your IQ by 50%. So I think if people are, and anxiety is a form of stress and fear as well. So if people were really stressed and fearful, or perhaps very anxious,
Mm,
they probably wouldn't be thinking to the full capacity that they normally would without sounding too insulting. But it's just basically saying that if you are very anxious, you are going to make maybe some very big decisions, some of which that may not really make much sense. Um, anyway, but what the test or the course suggested on with the Australian Department of Health, that wearing masks alone would not be a prevention for this, yeah, for COVID-19. So that's why they said you should be sanitizing your hands. That's why they said you need to have proper hygiene adequacy, coughing into a tissue, not into the air, disposing of your tissues, washing your hands, and then of course social distancing. If you were to like get rid of all of that and just say, okay, as long as you wear a mask, you're fine, that alone doesn't, doesn't do anything. And I think most people would look at that and say, well, yeah, of course that makes sense. If you just wear a mask and you do not do anything else,
mhm.
that's not going to stop anything in general. Hygiene is probably a very big thing where, yes, if you're not washing your hands, there's bacteria everywhere. Um, so again, I think sometimes people can get really too caught up in everything that's happening. They can be very scared, and then therefore they can make some irrational decisions.
Yeah, I think you're right, quite right, actually. And I think in a way that is kind of how it works. Um, or it's now I'm sort of prattling, ranting. But it's almost like a kind of what you said about stress causing people to, um, um, yeah, sort of function on half their mental capacity. Um, does make a lot of sense of how people are behaving. It's almost like, hey, everyone, be stupid, join the stupid club, just carry on being stupid, buy all this and spend everything. I don't know. Actually, I am ranting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think again, like um, stress or, and again, this is where I'm being serious here. If people do have anxiety, especially, even if they don't know it, you don't necessarily have to be diagnosed. And again, this is where my understanding of mental health comes in. You don't have to be necessarily diagnosed or be seeing anyone to have anxiety. You could have it without really knowing, in a sense. You may know something is wrong, but you haven't really been told that, right? So if you are dealing with any sort of anxiety, you probably are going to find yourself feeling more stressed and maybe making more irrational decisions. Again, a very interesting study of mental health. So when it comes to anything at all, and this would obviously apply to anxiety, is that thoughts lead into feelings, which lead into behavior. And it's like a cycle and it keeps going. And of course, each of those three elements deal with each other. So behaviors affect your thoughts affect your behaviors affect your feelings, and of course your feelings again. So everything's connected. So again, and perhaps there's more to it, but if people are feeling people are thinking, oh, it's the end of the world. I don't know if I'm going to live. They're going to feel scared. And then when they're thinking that and they're feeling very scared, then their behavior is going to come out, again, depending, a certain way. And that's just my rough analysis of what's going on. People really just are scared, intensified, and therefore they may be behaving a certain way. And again, this is where I'm very thankful that we have very clearly outlined information in Australia.
All right.
If you line, everything there is in black and white, and
Okay.
it's clearly instructed to you without implementing any sort of, you know what I mean, hype or anxiety. And this is where I was telling, some of my close friends, it's not about feeling scared. It's about being informed of what's happening and being informed on what you need to do.
Okay.
Um, and that's it in a way. It shouldn't have to be any more complicated than that. It shouldn't have to involve anxiety or hype or anything irrational. Irrational behaviors aren't going to help the situation any better than it is. So yeah, and this is where, I can gladly say not watching television really has been the stress-free experience of my whole life. I really feel great.
Oh, that's good.
Avoiding so and again, everyone may think differently in relation to that, but I just felt that there's so much good information provided by the governments. If people want to know something, it should be there. So
Okay. I know that's great. Um,
mhm.
I'm just thinking the information in the UK is slightly less clear.
Oh,
So the information that we get is they'll say something that's recommended and then almost change it the next day. I think or they'll
oh,
say, we are going to do this, but you don't have to do it now, but it's going to be in a week's time or something. It's just not very clear. It's really quite difficult, I find. But
yeah.
changing topic. Okay, I've got another question come from Brianna. And this is a good one. What kind of superhero are you?
Oh, that's an easy one. I'm Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay, cool. And then, she gave a couple actually. This one sounds like a job interview question. Do you feel comfortable leading a team?
I do. But if I'm leading a team in a business or in a sector where I have no knowledge or skills
Okay.
in, I think that's when I would think, okay, I probably won't have the confidence there. And it's kind of funny. I had um yeah, someone I know, they were working for a high fashion brand. Actually, I won't mention its name, but it was a pretty disappointing experience. So I don't really want to badmouth, fashion, because I'm obviously very passionate when it comes to fashion and the beauty industry. But there was this particular high-end brand that someone I know got hired for, and they never had a management position in that particular brand or even that
Mm-hmm.
sector of work they were doing, and they put them as manager, or as, I think, the supporting manager, or I can't remember the exact terms, but she had to learn everything on the spot. There was no training.
Hmm.
So again, like I think sometimes you can learn things on the spot, but otherwise, I think a leader has to know what's going on and knows what to do. Otherwise, that's not really, I guess from a professional perspective, it's not the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. Okay. And Brianna's been quite busy actually.
Okay.
She loved your Wonder Woman. So, and then gave it another question. What's your definition of sexy? Now, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know. It's a question. I don't know.
I had a lot of people ask me different variations of that question. Basically, basically I feel, well, I personally feel sexiest when, I'm in my favorite lingerie set, or when I'm in my favorite outfit. I love stiletto heels, something that
Oh,
obviously
okay.
what I'm wearing. I feel very, sexy, obviously, when I'm doing, a photo shoot. And,
Okay.
I won't lie, for certain projects, including Playboy, I definitely felt very, very good at those times. So, yeah, that kind of wraps up what my definition of that is.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense because it's a kind of a rare situation, really, that you find yourself in, where you're in a kind of very glamorized situation, and you're with photographers around you, and your job is to look sexy and be sexy. So really, you can't really think about doing anything else or being anything else.
Of
So
course not. Yeah, and it's a good moment to be in, and that's another thing I really missed out on. Like, being in front of the camera is kind of, one of my favorite places to be in. And
you big show off.
so, nothing really, it's hard to even describe in a way, because it's my happy place. So
Wow.
it definitely was, again, odd not performing. Like, it just really was. And I mean, again, I don't know how things were overseas, but I really felt that in Australia, at least where I was, things kind of came out of nowhere. It was like one day everything was normal, and then one day, like, you did not have a heads up. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, like, just to be told, okay, you won't be modeling for until until such time, it's just like,
Mm.
huh? So it's definitely been a very interesting time for me. And yeah, it just has.
Yeah, and that's, I think, why it's been very helpful for you, and a very I'm just repeating the same words, to almost privileged um, position you've put yourself in by your own sort of work and other avenues that you've been working in. So you've kind of enabled yourself to, okay, be active and productive and successful in other avenues that aren't directly related to the main line of work that you're in. I think not all people do have those kind of irons in different fires where they can actually keep themselves occupied and productive in a similar way. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Um, yeah, it's great. And so um, I'm I'm one thought I had really just about the um, oh yeah, the whole distancing thing that we're going through that comes off and on. I think, and mental health as well. I think one of the best, healthiest things for people is actual human contact. And um, yeah, again, I'm kind of then going to prattling on a bit, but I just think, the healthiest thing really is the human contact. I just find it very odd, really. It will make people much healthier if they have normal relationships with people and move around and have that human contact, and that almost has been taken away in a way.
Yeah, it has, and I agree with you there. And that's where it definitely is kind of sad, especially for people who already feel alone.
Mm,
I think I think we're forgetting that all of us here are human. We're not designed to be alone. In fact, there was this scientific bit of information I remember reading ages ago. Um, and again, like there is a lot to it, obviously, but it did say that people, us as humans, as human beings, we're not designed or created to be alone. There has to be interaction. And for some people, especially struggling with mental health, not being able to see other people or see their friends is not a good thing at all. So I really feel for a lot of people during these times, and especially before. I think that people need to remember that they are entitled to get help. They are entitled, um, you know. And again, I don't know the social distancing laws in the entire world, but generally speaking, you are entitled to see your loved ones and friends. So you shouldn't feel that you have to, under all circumstances, be alone, especially if you are struggling. To be honest, I cannot see being alone, especially for someone who's going through a rough time, as as a benefit.
Oh
I
yeah.
think people need to be healthy, and mental health is definitely very important.
Yeah, I think it's particularly hard on children, because um, if, depending on their parents, if they are then trying to enforce this kind of social distancing thing within their own families, and you've got young children, and then they're trying to tell them, oh no, you need to step away from your brother or sister or something. I don't know. I may be
Yeah.
reflecting from maybe a YouTube video or something I saw, or something that was just being silly, but I do know, yeah, it is very this um, yeah, this phase, this situation is very hard on children. I think they're very damaging. And
I think it would be. It definitely would be, but I think it matters more in the family environment. Because I said to myself, if I was a child right now, I may not even be noticing all of this.
that's true.
Because when you're an adult, you have all these responsibilities, and usually you are just responsible for your responsibilities. So you don't really have any
Yeah,
time to kind of sit around and play games or watch children's shows, which obviously focus on other things, doesn't focus on the adult world. So if you were a child and you were growing up in a healthy family environment, you may not even take much notice of what's going on. You may not feel the impact as, say, some other families would, or some other adults would, of course. So yeah, I think this has definitely impacted certain people more than others. But I think, yeah, like I just feel that from where I'm looking at, obviously the view is different for different people in different parts of the world. I think it's still going to be a tough time ahead, but I still am very optimistic about, the distant future. I think
okay.
things will get better. I think Australia has handled it well. I just feel that you are right. People are dealing with this in different ways.
Yeah,
So again, I think if people really need to know something, and perhaps it could be very specific, I would think, or I would assume, going to government sources online and reading that information yourself would probably be more beneficial than doing something else.
okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's just general advice there. But like, yeah, I feel there's just definitely been a lot of support and information here, so I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, no, that's good. You sound very lucky in Australia. Only part of the because of the weather, I think, more than anything. It's still miserable and rainy here in England, as it always is. Um,
Yeah.
and I do remember I asked you last time, uh, on behalf of and for my friend and artist friend Seb, um, if it's at all possible, um, for a a picture of you that's going to be copyright free that he can paint, and then it'll be an oil painting he can give to you. I can post it to you, and you'd be able to give that to your fans, your friends, whatever, or even sell it for quite a lot of money because he's exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I'd be truly honored, actually. This would be the first time someone's done an actual painting for me. So yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, I know, and I know exactly what you mean because I have this painting of me on the wall over there behind me, and I know I'm very lucky because very few people do have a painting, an oil painting on their wall that yeah, someone has created, and I just find it incredible. I really do. So yeah, we can. It's great. We can sort that out, and yeah, I'll get it to you somehow.
Thanks.
Okay, great. I can hear dogs barking out behind. I have
They're
no
probably
idea.
or excited.
Okay, no, that's great. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely lovely chatting with you. And yeah, it's great to hear you well, and you're being getting involved in all sorts of things. I don't know, is there anything our listeners can go to or look for, or things you want to promote at the moment as we say goodbye?
As we speak, my team and myself are, working on a variety of things for the distant and further future. We have a lot of projects, happening in the background. So definitely, check out my social media. So for Facebook and Instagram, it's Jasmin Shojai Model. And for Twitter, it's Jasmin_Shojai. And for my reality web series, it's exclusive to one specific platform. And that platform is called the Daily Motion. So
Okay.
you can find my show as well as other videos, so like behind the scenes content and so on, under Jasmin Shojai TV. And I guess for anyone who doesn't know how to spell my name, I guess head on to the radio show here and on their social media and take a look from there. So yeah, it's definitely an honor to be here again, and I'm very excited for our next interview. Hopefully by then things would have progressed even more. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it has been lovely talking with you, Jasmin. And yeah,
Mm.
take care, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Same here.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Bye.